Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the faith-based counselor, and I just came out from, well, after like trying to spruce myself up a little bit for this video, just a little bit. Um, I just came from Instagram and I was watching one of these clips of what Chimamanda Adichie said, and she was talking about how she met someone and she jokingly said that she would like to meet that person again because she has something to say to her that she didn't say on that day. And what was that? Apparently, she met that person at an airport in Nigeria, Owerri, Nigeria, and you know, and there were two women apparently, and one of them was like, "Oh my God, this is Chimamanda. I want to take a picture with you." And her friend, the friend of the person that said they wanted to take a picture, was like, "Oh, I know you're gonna have a crazy hairstyle on your head, that sort of thing." And Chimamanda said she just smiled at her, which is not her authentic how she handles matters. Like normally she would have said something, right? She would have said something, but that day she was like, maybe she was tired or something, and she just smiled. And she was talking about how we should, despite the fact that it's not permitted, society does not permit us to be our authentic self, or in a way that men are allowed to. Men are allowed to get angry, men are allowed to show their temper. It seems normal, but when women address issues, they are being too, I can't recall the word right now, like not being matured enough, like not being demure or whatever. I don't even know what demure is like that, but not being ladylike when you're always addressing issues. Like you just have to let things go. And I was reading the comment section, and someone was saying, that was like for the best, like it's not everything. And I hear that a lot. And I think all of us hear that a lot. There was, the excuse for letting things slide is not everything that you respond to. And I asked a question which I probably will not get an answer to, which is why I just wanted to do a video on this. Like, at one point, do you address issues? Because we're always told to that it's okay to let things slide because it's not everything you respond to. And apparently, from what I can hear and see so far in the way we handle issues generally, it is like that is just something they say to get you to consistently let things slide. Consistently let things slide. That's like what they tell you all the time, to consistently let things slide, right? They just tell you, oh, that telling you that, oh, it's not everything you respond to is almost like a scam, you get. Because then, if you ask that, what exactly then do I respond to? If, okay, so it's not everything I respond to. I understand that. But what exactly can I respond to? When can I respond to it? How can I respond to it? You will notice that people don't have answers to those questions because they don't intend for you to respond to anything. Apparently, maturity for women is that you don't respond to anything at all. You just smile and I don't know, just smile, I guess. Like, you're not is like any woman that responds to anything is considered loud, right? And I don't know whether men face the same issues, but I think they do too. I think they do too in some areas where they will tell them, oh, let this thing go. And usually when they tell you that, is they don't address the issues that what brought about the matter in the first place. Now, they don't address that. That is not addressed at all. And but they don't want the everybody wants to enjoy, they want to keep enjoying you know, the vibe that comes with what was before what was said, and before what was done. People want to go back to where things were just happy and free. And so they now put the burden on the recipient of an abuse, the recipient of an offense, to quote and unquote let it go. They put it on you who has been offended. Something has been said to you that hurt you, that ought not to have been said. Or maybe it was supposed to be said, but the way it was said was not didn't land well with you. And they tell you, oh, it's fine, I just want us to get back to where we were. I find that really annoying because I'm like, there are just some things that you can't get back to, you know. I mean, we all know that, but they put that burden on that person because everybody has moved on, obviously, because I mean, they've said everybody else is satisfied. They have vented. You, on the other hand, you are the one bearing the burden of their vents, and you cannot be offended. You just have to take things the way they are. It's like the consensus is that it's a small price to pay for whatever it is that you all have together. Like, it's just a small price to pay. It's just an offense. Let's learn to. And it becomes worse when you are a religious person. You understand? When you're a religious person, it gets worse because, as always, somebody will always find a verse in your religious book or in the words of sages to, like, impose letting go on you. They'll always find something, to remind you that, to err is human, to forgive is divine, that sort of thing, you know. However, now that I've said that part, the next part I want to say, or I want to talk about, is something that, you know, something that she said, something that Chimamanda said, like Chief Chimamanda, what she said. She was talking about the issue, the talk was about her hair. The talk was about her hair. So for everyone who thinks they should let this slide, herein lies the problem. Hair is identity, especially for someone who wears their hair naturally. It is identity. It might not be identity for other people, but you see, we are often taught, when you are taught well and you're well brought up and you're well bred, you're well schooled in how to in relationships, in how to relate to people, right? In public relations. Right? I think all of us at some point we learned public relations, social relations, one way or the other, the basics at least. We learned that. And one of it states that when it comes to a person's physique, from their hair to their toes, you have to be extremely careful how you talk about anything that concerns a person's physique. You have to be extremely careful how you talk about that. You have to choose your words carefully. That is one. When it comes to a person's beliefs and ethnicity, you also have to be very, very careful the comments you make and how you say what you say. In other words, address the issue. If you have an issue with something that has been done, it's what has been done you should address. Because you see, if you address the person and you make statements about the person's figure or physique or hair or whatever, you are you you are probably going to be hitting, you're going to be probably commit three offenses at the same time. You would be attacking the person's identity, you'll be attacking the person's heritage and origins, you'll also be attacking the person's religious beliefs. All three. And when it comes to the issue of communication, the question will now be, what exactly do you want the other person to hear? So it's what you want the other person to hear that you would focus on. So if it's what you want the other person to hear that you focus on, not on anything else. Like, be very careful not to touch on anything else. Because if the person's ethnicity and the person's background, the person's heritage, the person's origin, the person's physique is not the purpose of what you are trying to portray or you are trying to put out there, then you might do very well to not address that. Where am I going with this? When someone said in the comment section that I responded to, that when she said, let it slide, and I'm thinking, that is her hair. That is her hair. A huge part of her identity. Like, when you see that hair, this is an African woman. That hair announces her for who she is. So anybody making rude comments about her hair is not something you just let slide, because that person has attacked not just you but your heritage. Now, I understand, but for a lot of people, they are not their hair. And so, they can make jokes about their own head and other people's hair, and it might be fine for them. But you have to understand that not everybody stands on that. You got to understand that. And so when something is important to a person, which isn't important to you, they will address it. It's not going to slide. And the head is very symbolic. It's very, very, very symbolic. And what I think is that God wanted to be the one to respond to that lady. I have noticed that when God wants to respond to an issue or something, he stops you from saying anything about it. Because if you have said something about something, someone has offended you or said something offensive to you, and you respond, I think most of the time God just leaves it at that. That's what I think. Observe and ask God about it if you have any doubt. But from my observation so far, when you respond to an insult or an abuse, a lot of times, God doesn't more or less do much unless you invite him to do something about it. However, God is the creator, and when we're talking about creator in African culture, we hold our head, we touch our head when we say that. So anything that is said about the head is a direct address to the creator himself. So when you say something like, you say something very, very rude about someone's hair, you have sent a message, indirect message, to the creator that made that hair. And the fact that the person God gave that hair to did not respond, they smiled. I don't know. I think that lady that made that statement, God has responded. And you know how it is. When God responds, he responds at his own size. When we respond at our own size. God responds at his own size. And I think God wanted to address that woman directly. And that's why when she made that statement about Chimamanda's hair, all she could do, all God allowed her to do at that point was to smile. And I've been in that situation a lot of times where, Lord, I had a thing or two to say to someone who said something to me or who did something to me. But at that moment, I kept quiet. Not because I wanted to, I just felt quiet. I felt quiet. The offense of that statement did not click until I got home, until it was all over. Now, wait, hold on. Did that person just say what they said to me? I'm like, what? How can someone say something like that? And I didn't even wake up to what they said. And that's the thing. God just puts you in a sleep that you are so unaware of the magnitude and the gravity of what that person has said. Like your consciousness does not register it. Your consciousness is just asleep at that time. Like I've been there more times than I care to recall, where somebody will say something to me and my consciousness, my awareness of what has been said, it just, it just, it escapes me. I'm so oblivious to it at that point. Like I just slept. God just put me to sleep at that point. And so my response sometimes, in fact, I've had to apologize for something I should have made someone apologize to me for. And I sincerely meant it at that point in time. And I realized the Holy Spirit took over. Because if my consciousness was awake and I processed what that person said, I am going to be giving that person back. Like, I'm going to be telling that person exactly what I think of what they just said to me. It took me a while to realize that there are just some things that God will let you do. God will let you respond in a calm way to a very provocative and provoking outburst, statement, or attitude, because He wants to be the one to handle it. Maybe that person, cup of offense is overflowing. And if you are the one who responds to that person, it might become disastrous. It might become disastrous for you. You might say something to that person that will make that person harm themselves. And then it will come to you and you'll be like, I'm the one who is offended here. Why am I being treated like the perpetrator? You know? So it happens that way. And I've learned to be at peace with that, because I always ask why. And that person just got away with it. But then as I grew older, I realized that, people don't always get away with stuff. We may not see it when, the repercussions starts to come, but people hardly get away with stuff. Hardly ever. We just don't see what the repercussions are. And so anytime and so in fact, now I deliberately don't respond to some things. Because for me, I'm like, when I respond to something you say, I'm trying to save you, right? So if I want to not save you, if I want you to get the full treatment, the full consequence of what you have said or done, the best thing I can do is not respond to you at all. Because then the justice system that God has created through nature will see that and be enraged that, why could someone say that and just, no, we need to teach this person a lesson. We need to teach. If you responded, they'll be like, okay, at least they have responded, let's not overdo it. But you didn't respond. The justice system that God has established when He was establishing everything else will kick in. And so sometimes somebody will do something and be like, my response to you will never be enough for what you have just done to me, for what you have just said to me, for this attitude you just showed me. Nah, my response is not enough. You need to get the full treatment of this thing that you just did. And so the best way to make sure you get it is that I don't respond at all. I swallow my words. Then when I am alone, I now begin to pour my heart to God. Like, God, I want this person to get the appropriate response. That is why I didn't say anything. But I am hurt, I'm pained, I'm annoyed, and I'm upset. This is what this person said to me. This is how it makes me feel. I will complain to God. I will report that person to God. That's what I do. I mean, it is what it is. So if you didn't get anything out of everything I've said right now, please, let's school ourselves on how to address issues rather than people's identity, rather than people's physical features, And if you know that there is something you have to say that you can't but There is no how you can say what you want to say that will not touch the person's physical condition or whatever. You got to make sure you probably shouldn't even say it, because then is that thing that they ask you that, is this thing necessary? This thing you want to say, is it necessary? What purpose will it serve? Right? Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. Isn't that the truth? Out of it does flow the issues of life. Jesus said it's not what comes out of a person's, it's not what comes into a person's mouth that pollutes them, but what comes out of it. So we need to be very careful of the things we say. And for us to be careful of what we say, we need to guard our hearts first, because that is where the whole thing is springing out from. If you aren't thinking something, you can't say it. It's that simple. And remember that they that know their God are the ones that will be strong and do exploits. Remember, Jesus Christ is still Lord and is calling on you today. Peace.